Next, after bill of exchange, we come to the new term promissory note. Now girls, promissory note, the name only contains half the meaning. It is promissory note. That means a note, a document that contains a promise. Promissory means promising note. So this is also similar to bill of exchange, but the only difference is bill of exchange is drafted by the seller and it is an order, but the promissory note is drafted by the buyer and it is a promise. Promissory means a promise that I will see. Look at the specimen of promissory note. The specimen of promissory note here, I'll take you here. This is the specimen, similar, the amount, the revenue stamp. 2 months after date, I promise to pay Shri Karuna Sagar, or the order, the sum of rupees 5 lakh only for the value received. I promise to pay, whereas bill of exchange was I order you to pay. See, this was you have to pay me. This is an order that after date pay to me or my order. So this is a bill of exchange, and that is the specimen of where it is promise, it becomes a promissory note. Everything. The only thing, now this is Prem Kishore, the acceptor, and this is the seller. So here the bill is drawn by the buyer and the bill is accepted by the seller. So he is promising. The maker is buyer, and here the acceptor is the seller. That is the only difference between the specimen of the promissory note and the bill of exchange. Now next, the parties to promissory note. The maker, he is the person who writes a promissory note and signs it. In the above specimen form, the promissory note, Prem Kishore is the maker. So maker is the buyer here. And for bill of exchange, maker is the seller. Pay, he is the person who is entitled to get the payment. The Karuna Sagar is the pay. So pay is always the person who has sold the goods. Pay to wahi hote hain. There is no acceptor in case of promissory note because the maker himself is liable to make the amount. So bill is accepted by the drawer, or drawer hi to seller hai. So acceptor of the request is nobody else. Acceptor of the bill to ho gaya, that is the drawer, but acceptor of the request is the drawee himself. Is the person who's drawing the bill himself, the maker of the bill. So the parties here are not called drawer and the drawee, but they are maker and the pay. Now the difference between bill of exchange and promissory note. Parties, there may be 3 parties to bill of exchange: drawer, acceptor and the payee, and there are only 2 parties, the maker and the payee. It is drawn by the creditor and it is drawn by the debtor. It is an order to make the payment and it is a promise to make the payment. It needs acceptance by the drawee. It does not need acceptance. The liability of the drawer is secondary. He will be liable only if the acceptor does not pay. And the liability of the drawer is primary. Liability of the maker of the bill is primary. Liability means who has to pay. Here the maker of the bill has to pay. His liability is primary. And here the liability of the drawer is secondary. The person who is drawing the bill is secondary. In case the acceptor does not make the payment, then the drawer of the bill will see how will the payment be made. Drawer can be the pay of the bill. Yes, drawer can be the pay. Who is the drawer? Who is making the payment? Who is the pay? Who has to be paid? So drawer, in case he does not passes the bill to anybody else, then he himself is the pay. And maker cannot be made the pay, because who's the maker here? The person who is purchased. So who is purchased cannot be paid. So maker cannot be the pay of the bill. It is better to get it noted in case of dishonor. You will understand the dishonor later. It is always preferred to get it noted. And noting is not necessary in case of promissory note, because it is an activity that is done by the buyer, that is done against the buyer only. So here the buyer himself is making the promise, So noting is not important. In case of local bills, only one copy is prepared, but in case of foreign bills, 3 copies are prepared. And here only one copy is prepared, whether local or foreign. Then there is no need of fixing the stamps on the bills payable on demand, but otherwise stamps would be necessary, and stamps have to be fixed in any case. It is important. So it is the difference between bill of exchange, a very important theory question from this chapter. Now we will come to the next important thing, the days of maturity and the days of grace.